Hi, good evening, everyone. So, if you're just joining us, welcome. If you're coming in from the first session we just had with some of our academic advisors, welcome back. So, now we're going to go ahead and start our housing information session. So, we are joined by Miss Sandy Brosh. I am so sorry I mispronounced it, with our Housing Residence Life Department to go ahead and share lots of great information with you about our different housing opportunities that we have for UCF Nights.
Hello, everybody, and good evening. I have tons of information about housing to share with you. And if you joined our live tour about an hour ago, it was good to see you then. Good to see you back. We'll have a lot more information shared this session, and I will try to answer as many questions as I can from the Q&A, but there's a lot to get through. So I am going to share my screen. Give me just one second here. So housing and residence life, there's a lot of information here, and some of it is for students who have not yet applied for housing. Some of it is for students who have applied for housing. I'll be touching on topics like what to expect at arrival, what to expect while you're living here on campus, and how to go about applying and looking for roommates. So I'm going to go ahead and get us rolling. All right. When you live on campus, number one, you are going to be very close to your classes and dining. You're going to have better grades, better graduation rates, clean facilities, and most importantly, you're going to make friends that you're going to have for life. So we strongly recommend that all incoming freshmen at least try living on campus where possible. If you're not able to live on campus, that's fine, but we do recommend it. So the different types of housing available to you include 10 different housing communities in 3 different campuses. So our main UCF campus is going to include all the communities you see here in the animated map. And then we also have housing at UCF downtown and the UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management. All right, so there are 2 basic lengths of housing agreements here on the main campus. We have what we call academic year housing. That is for the fall and spring only, and it is going to include the Apollo, Libra, Nike, and Hercules, Lake Claire, and Neptune communities. Those are fall, spring only. Then we have annual housing. Our annual housing includes fall, spring, and the following summer. That's going to be the Towers at Night Plaza, Northview, our Union West housing at the downtown campus, and then our Rosen College apartments are actually sort of a hybrid. You can select fall, spring only at Rosen, but you have the opportunity to add the following summer as well. So it's a little different. The academic year housing is what the vast majority of our freshmen come in looking for. Again, fall, spring only, you don't have to make that summer commitment. Academic year housing is a combination of suite style and apartment style housing. So on this slide, you can see suite style at the top. What that means is that students are going to be in a shared bedroom. Ordinarily, you're going to have a 2-bedroom unit with 2 people per bedroom. So 4 people per suite, ordinarily sharing 1 bathroom. In the apartment style units, most of those are going to have private bedrooms for each resident. Downtown, we do have some unique configurations, but most apartment style are going to be private bedrooms, and they have full kitchens and living rooms. So you can see Apollo, Libra, Nike, Hercules, and Neptune all include suite style. And then if you want an apartment style unit, they are extremely rare for incoming freshmen in the academic year housing. We have them in the Lake Claire community, and there are apartments in Nike and Hercules, although they are typically reserved for incoming sophomores who have already been on campus. So the Towers and Nights Plaza is going to be our first annual community I'm going to touch on. So you can see the 4-bedroom apartment layout on your screen. The Towers traditional layout is going to be 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, like you're seeing. They're going to include study lounges. Every floor is going to have those. It's going to have laundry. All of the towers have full kitchens, including the only dishwashers located on the main campus. Very valuable if your student doesn't do dishes. And then all 4 towers are going to have private garage parking available to those residents. Students are not required to bring a car to campus, but they may, even if they are freshmen. And if they live in the towers and they purchase a parking permit, parking services will see that they are a towers resident and will issue them a permit for one of those private parking garages. Northview is located, aptly named, at the very north end of campus. It is all apartment style, very luxurious. You can see from the floor plan that there are built-in shelving, granite countertops, hardwood look floors, and every unit is going to come with a washer and dryer in the unit. Most of those do include suede-like furniture and a television in the living room. Northview also has a lot of amenities that you would normally not find in dormitory style housing. So you're going to find the resort style pool, the fitness center. It has a rooftop sky deck for hanging out, studying, gathering with friends. There is a traditional game room at Northview with pool table, video game systems. And then Northview does have an attached parking garage. Northview is technically just across the street from campus, although it is run by UCF Housing. But because it's not physically on the main campus, residents have included parking at Northview that they do not have to pay for. If they do want to take their car away from Northview and park on the main campus, they should buy a parking permit for the main campus. But if they keep their car in the Northview garage, a parking permit is not required. It's included with their rent. All right, as I said, we have two other campuses. If you are going to be downtown, you're only a 25-minute drive away. If you are a hospitality major, you are a 40-minute drive away, but you're right next to all of the theme parks. So we're going to look quickly at Rosen first. As I said, Rosen is for hospitality majors. With that in mind, you don't have to be a hospitality major to live at Rosen. Anyone in any major can live in any of our housing on any of our campuses. So if someone just wants to live very, very close to SeaWorld and they happen to be an engineering major, yes, they are eligible to sign up at Rosen, but we strongly recommend that hospitality majors live out there. The Rosen Apartments are going to be all apartment style. Every resident at Rosen does get their own private bedroom and generally are going to share a bathroom with one person. They're going to have the largest kitchens of any units that we have. There is a heated pool at Rosen. It is very resort style, and it is a beautiful gated small campus. If your student is in a downtown major, they should live at Union West, which is our newest housing. It is a gorgeous high-rise building, 15 stories, and these are the programs that are included downtown. Go ahead and take a look. Union West is annual, so that would be fall, spring, and the following summer. And as I said, there are some unique configurations at Union West. We do have a 4-4 unit where everybody gets their own bedroom and bathroom, but we also have a couple of combination units where we have both shared and private bedrooms, and you can see those floor plans there on the slide. All right, no matter where your student lives on campus, they are going to get all of the furniture and all of the utilities included. So no caps on the power bill, no caps on the water. They do get high-speed wireless internet, and there are also Ethernet ports in every room. We do recommend that students go ahead and bring an Ethernet cable so that they can plug directly into the internet while they're doing coursework, taking exams, that sort of thing. But the Wi-Fi is great as well. Maintenance is included. Every community is going to have lounges, study areas, laundry facilities available to them. And of course, they're going to have 24-hour access to staff, no matter where they live in housing. When your student arrives on campus, one of the most important things we think about living in the housing communities is our residential curriculum. So your student is coming to college, and you're going to only spend a certain amount of time in the classroom. That does not mean that that's where the learning stops. And being part of campus housing is a huge contributor to learning outside of the classroom. We support what we call a residential curriculum, and we focus on the concepts of community engagement, self-awareness, equity, and inclusion. So those concepts are highlighted throughout the learning and living experience on campus. In addition to that, we have living learning communities. So living learning communities, which we all frequently call LLCs, are smaller groups of students who are placed together in specific housing communities and buildings who share either a similar academic program or a similar interest. So some of those include a classroom component where all the students in the LLC are registered for a similar course. Some of them are going to include social engagement. It just depends on the different program, but we really recommend that you go ahead and take a look at those. I'm going to click through here. Our academic experience LLCs are going to be Excel and Compass, Future Educators, Lead Scholars, the Learn program, which is research, and nursing at Nike. And then our shared experience communities are going to include the Honors College, Healthy Nights, and UCF First, which is for first generation college students. We do want to go ahead and touch on some quick safety information for you. All of our communities are going to include safety features galore. Every hall owned and run by UCF Housing is going to include electronic locks and keys that are programmed to your specific student. If your student is living in Nike Building 102 on the second floor, they will only have access to Building 102 and to the hallway doors on the second floor and to their individual suite. Keys are programmed by student. In addition, we're going to have security cameras in all of our communities, and the blue lights are all over campus. That is just a beautiful, giant, bright yellow pole with a blue light on top where a student can walk right up, push one button, and it is immediately connected to UCF PD. UCF PD are amazing, amazing individuals. They have an extremely rapid response time on campus, and more importantly, they're there to support your students all the time. They have different programs that happen in the housing communities. That includes things like Operation ID, where they will come out and engrave ID numbers on valuables like laptops, cell phones. They'll engrave it on your bike frame, that sort of thing. They do on-campus bike registration. They also run a program called Night Ride, which picks students up wherever they are on campus at certain times of night and escorts them across campus to wherever they need to go. So if your student is at the library at 1 o'clock in the morning and they don't want to walk back to their residence hall, they can call Night Ride and get a lift. Most importantly, part of our residential curriculum is talking to your student about personal responsibility. The doors and the locks and the electronics and the systems and the cameras do great work as long as they're used. So if a student is holding the door open for the person behind them, that kind of defeats the purpose. All right, meal plans and cooking. If you listened to our tour, you probably heard me say that students can cook in any facility that they live in, but if they're in a traditional shared bedroom, they need to limit themselves to a mini fridge, a microwave, and a coffee pot. If they have a kitchen, they can go ahead and bring in additional appliances like toasters, but those appliances with open heating elements do need to stay in the kitchen. They cannot be used in residential space. They need to be used in cooking spaces. We do recommend that you go ahead and teach your students some very basic cooking skills before you send them off to campus. I will share that I personally have pulled at least 5 bowls of Kraft Ready Mac out of hedge bushes that looked like little blackened charred lumps because the student forgot to add water. So even in a microwave, you can burn things, and we recommend that you give them some basic cooking lessons, but also consider a meal plan. Meal plans are not required for any student on campus, but they're a good idea, and they have a lot of different flexible options. If you're buying a meal plan, you don't have to buy every single meal. You can get a lesser amount and then add on later. So I recommend that you take a look at the campus dining website and think about it as you're preparing your student to come on campus. All right, if your student has already applied, some of this will be important for you to know. If your student has not yet applied, this is very important for you to know and go ahead and work on right away. Apply on My Ucf. So when your student logs into the My Ucf portal, they're just going to go into student, self-service, and they're going to click on the housing portal. I've got to screenshot it up on the screen. They're going to submit their application and their prepayment. If your student is starting in summer, then they are going to start in summer B. That is the summer session that starts in mid to late June, and it is considered a separate housing application. We had a question earlier in the last couple of days about submitting 2 prepayments for housing. You would submit 2 prepayments if your student was signing up for a summer B housing agreement and then a separate fall housing agreement. That does not mean your student has to make a prepayment for every single semester. It's for every housing agreement. So because summer B is sort of its own thing, 6 weeks long, we treat it like summer camp. They move in, they stay for 6 weeks. They do have to move out and take all their belongings with them. And then they're going to return for the fall. And that is the room they're going to keep for the year, whether it's the academic year, fall and spring only, or an annual agreement, fall, spring, and the following summer. That's their year-long housing. So prepayments for summer B are $100. Prepayments starting in the fall for an annual or academic year agreement are $250. If your student's starting in summer and you're signing them up for both, you'll pay $350 together when you sign up for both agreements. If your student is starting in the fall and you're just starting a fall, annual, or academic year housing agreement, $250. I do kind of highlight that because it's important that the prepayment is paid in order for the agreement to be considered complete and submitted. When it is submitted, you're going to get your housing agreement receipt date. Your housing status will say submitted. At that point, you want to look for the status to be updated. The status will be updated from submitted to confirmed. A confirmed housing agreement means that you have been guaranteed a space in the type of housing you signed up for. So our agreement types include academic year housing, the Towers, Northview, the Rosen Apartments, and Union West. Those are our agreement types. So if you have confirmed housing for the Towers, you have been guaranteed a space in the Towers. If you have confirmed housing for academic year housing, that means you have been confirmed for a space in one of our academic year communities. And as I showed before, there are several. Once your housing agreement has been updated to a confirmed status, you have the opportunity to go ahead and sign up for roommate groups and living learning communities. Roommate groups are something we get a lot of questions about. When a student fills out their housing application, they're going to fill out a roommate matching profile. At that point in time, they can use that profile to see what percentage of a match they are with various roommates who have applied for the same type of housing. So if they're in our system and they have applied for Northview, they will be able to look for matches with other students who have applied for Northview. If they've applied for the Towers, other students in the Towers. Academic year housing, they'll be able to look for matches with everyone in academic year housing, regardless of whether they might prefer Nike or Hercules or Apollo. Everyone in academic year housing is considered one agreement type, and those students can search for matches between each other. Once students have found roommate matches, they will form roommate groups and assign a leader. We strongly recommend that the roommate group leader is the student with the earliest housing application date, because that student will receive the earliest room selection appointment. Room selection happens online. Students do get to choose their own rooms, and if they're in a roommate group, the leader will choose the rooms for everyone in that group. I do strongly recommend that when room selection time comes around, that your student go ahead and discuss in advance with their roommates what types of rooms they're most interested in, what their plan A is, what their plan B is, what their plan C is, and what their plan D is. Sometimes we'll get a group of 4 students who want to be together, but they're only finding apartments with 2 bedrooms open. So in order to stay together, they might have to split into 2 pairs. Or sometimes we'll get a group of 3 students who all want to live in Apollo together, and the Apollo rooms are full. So maybe their second choice needs to be Libra or Nike or Hercules or Neptune. It is frequently brought up that a student might be in academic year housing and only wants an apartment style room. If your student did not apply early for housing, I strongly recommend that you talk to them about picking at least one type of shared room to be their backup. So, as I said, room sign up happens online. We have some frequently asked questions that I want to address before we get to everything in the Q&A here. Can I bring my car? Yes. Are freshmen required to live on campus? The answer is no. No one is required to live on campus at UCF, but as I said, we do strongly recommend it. Admitted for summer, do I need to complete 2 housing applications? If you want to live on campus during the summer, then yes. If you're admitted for summer, but you plan to be home for your first summer and move on campus during the fall, you can skip over that summer application and just complete the fall, but we recommend doing both. Can transfer and graduate students live on campus? The answer is yes, but there are limited options available to them. So transfer and graduate students should look at our eligibility page and see what they're able to sign up for. Do annual agreements at the Towers, Northview, and Union West require summer enrollment? Great question, and the answer is no. A student can live in one of our annual agreements, and maybe during the summer they pursue an internship or get a local job. They don't have to be in class during that summer semester. One important thing to note, however, is that they cannot sublease on campus. So if your student does not intend to be here for the summer, you need to think seriously about whether you want to sign up for that annual housing, because their room will be theirs for that summer semester. And how do roommates work? We just covered that. So we do suggest that everyone apply for housing as soon as they're offered admission to UCF. The housing agreement opens a little around a year ahead. So normally we would open it in October for the following summer and fall. We covered prepayments. So if a student is arriving in summer B, that is a $100 prepayment. And if they're going to be signing up for fall housing, whether it's fall spring or fall spring and the following summer, those are both going to be a $250 prepayment. It is hugely important that students go ahead and sign up for NICE email and use it after they are admitted. We do all of our important communication through NICE email. So housing emails need to be checked. They could be telling you that your status has been updated. They could be telling you that you have been confirmed into a living learning community. They could be telling you very important updates on move-in information. So always good to check your NICE email frequently and make sure that we're not going to junk or spam mail. And then finally, as we've said, space is limited on the campus. We don't have room for everybody who wants to live on campus. So if you do sign up for housing and then you find out that you're not going to need it, please go ahead and notify us of that as timely as possible. All you need to do is go onto the housing website, select Contact Us, and in the contact form, you can select cancellation as your subject, and it will give you all of the fields that you need to fill out to go ahead and send us a cancellation of your housing. All right, everything is online. Everything is available there. If you're looking and browsing through our website, the top level navigation where we've got choices, costs, tours, apply, residence, resources, and contacts, all have drop-down menus. I recommend starting at the far left with choices and hitting the very first drop-down, which is getting started. My UCF is where you're going to find everything specific to your student. So if you have already signed up for housing, your housing agreement status, roommate information, charges, all of that is going to be in My Ucf. If you're looking for general information that applies to everybody, rates, dates, and rules, you're going to find all of that on the housing website. All right. We just did an open house tour that was great about almost 2 hours ago now, but we also have weekly housing tours that are virtual and are smaller and more intimate. So you would have an opportunity to ask more questions, talk one-on-one with a housing ambassador. If you're interested in doing that, go to our website and go ahead and sign up for one of those tours in advance. All right, we do ask that everybody who's planning to move on campus go ahead and download the UCF mobile app on your phone. It's going to be very useful for many things. Most importantly to us, you're going to get the move-in module, which does appear on the mobile app in the upper right-hand corner with a little colored icon about 2 to 4 weeks before move-in. So if you download the mobile app and you don't see move-in, that's fine. It's not there yet, but it is going to be there, and it will be extremely useful to you when move-in comes around. You're going to find maps, directions, information on how to connect to the internet, because it's a little bit complicated in the dorm rooms. You've got to register your devices. Maintenance, mail, all those sorts of questions can be answered through the mobile app. All right. So I can see that we've got quite a few questions here in the Q&A, and I'm going to try and get through as many of them as I can. First, I'm going to take down that PowerPoint. Okay. All right. Way up at the top. What are the rules concerning bikes stored in the various dorm rooms? Okay, good question. Bikes cannot be brought into the buildings. So we strongly recommend thinking about whether or not your student is going to bring that extremely expensive mountain bike to campus. And if they plan to do it, what kind of a lock you need to have available to you. We do have outdoor bike racks in all of the housing communities, but they cannot be brought into the units or into the buildings. What's the best dorm for an incoming female freshman? That depends. Does your female freshman want their own room? Are they planning to work out a lot? Do they want to be right behind the Recreation and Wellness Center? Or would they rather be closer to the dining halls in the center of campus? We get that question all the time, and the answer is always, it depends on your student and what they're looking for. So please review all of our different community choices carefully before applying. All right.
I'm going to go ahead, if you don't mind, Sandy, jump in here and consolidate some of the questions. I know we have quite a few that came in through the Q&A. And one of the questions that I've been seeing is in regards to the deposit for housing. Is there a way to get that deposit waived?
Is there a way to get it waived? All right, good question. There is a way to get it delayed, but not waived. So if someone has what we call a housing deferment, they will not need to pay it at the time of application. However, the prepayment generally comes off of the fall rent. So if you made the $250 prepayment, when it came time to pay the fall rent, it would be the fall rent amount minus the $250 you already paid. If you get it deferred, you will owe the full rent at the time it's due. So it can't be waived completely, but it can be delayed if you know that your housing expenses, for example, might be completely paid by financial aid at a later date. So that is an option.
Great, thank you. And one that we've been seeing a lot in here as well is in regards to when move-in will become available for freshmen that are coming in for both the summer and the fall semesters.
Yana, I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
I'm so sorry. Another one that we're seeing is in regards to the move-in date. So when will move-in become available for freshmen coming in for the summer or fall semesters?
Ooh, that is going to be in midsummer. I do not know the exact date, but generally it's going to happen in May and June. Perfect,
thank you. Now let's see, because we have quite a few in here. Okay, so we are now signing the housing agreement, but we cannot see availability for the Towers or Union West. Are those available at this time?
It would depend on what type of student is signing up. If you are an incoming freshman, those are still available to you. If you are a transfer student, a graduate student, or an upperclassman, those may be closed to you at this point because they are on a wait list for those classifications of students right now.
Perfect. And we're getting some questions about what can be brought on campus. So I've seen questions in regards to pets being brought on campus, what kind of small pets are allowed, and how we can store our bikes if we live on campus.
So we just discussed bikes, but as far as pets go, unless it's a fish in a very small tank, I believe it's 5 gallons or less, you cannot bring pets on campus. That is different than a support animal. Our support animal policies are posted on our website under the apply information and under accommodations, but those are a medical or emotional accommodation.
And we're also getting some questions about roommate matching. So one question is in regards to being unable to view the other student's profile they were matched with. Another question is, would you recommend a student that was wanting to live by themselves to consider being matched with a roommate?
Yes, for the second part of the question, yes, I would recommend that you go ahead and look for a roommate match, even if you want to live in your own space. We don't have, I want to make sure I'm saying this accurately, we do not have any spaces available for sign up where you would be completely alone in a living space. You would have a private bedroom in an apartment that houses other students, but you would not have like a 1-1 apartment. Yeah, so definitely take a look at the roommate matching, see if there's somebody you think would be a good match to live, on the other side of the wall.
And as a follow-up to that, if a student is coming in as a freshman and their elder brother is a junior at UCF, would it be possible for them to get housing together?
Ooh, we get interesting questions like that all the time. And what I would say is you should email us. So you would want to email your individual situation to housing@ucf.edu and see if our room assignments team can assist with that. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. It depends on a lot of factors, including how early you ask. So I would say just shoot us an email and see if we can accommodate that.
Perfect. And just another roommate matching question. So what if we submitted our housing applications in December, but our roommate submitted them later on in February or March? Are we able to still room with them at this point and get that first come, first served basis?
Yes. Roommate matching is still going on and will continue up until it's time to go ahead and select your rooms. If you applied in December and your preferred roommates applied much later than you, I would strongly suggest that you mark yourself as the group leader because your December application date will get you an earlier room selection date. And that means that you'll be able to place all of your roommates in their rooms at your time. So, yeah.
Perfect. And let's see, a lot of roommate matching questions. So how far in advance will we be notified when room sign up occurs for summer and fall?
How far in advance will you be notified? Generally, we try to send those emails out several weeks ahead of time, but it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks in advance that you would get your sign up appointment.
Perfect. And does the My Ucf portal show the dates of the housing application so we can figure out who the leader should be?
Yes, it does.
And if a student is in a housing residence hall that does not have a kitchen, is there a community kitchen available?
Yes. Every community is going to have either kitchens in the units or community kitchens. In some communities, those community kitchens are on each floor. In some, it's in like a programming center or an activity center.
Perfect. And which housing communities would require a student to bring their own refrigerator or fridge?
Students are able to bring their own mini fridge no matter what community they're in. If they're in a unit that has a kitchen or if they're in a unit at Union West, they'll be provided with refrigerator space. So for example, in the towers, there's a big fridge in the kitchen for everyone to share, but you can certainly still bring in your own mini fridge and put it in your bedroom in the towers.
Okay. And what's the approximate time frame for students to find out whether or not their housing application has been approved after they submit it?
So we do housing confirmations on a rolling basis. If you are an incoming freshman, we're confirming those applications every week right now, and we will continue doing that throughout the summer. If you are an upperclassman, you may be on a hold status for a while, and we'll continue confirming those applications again in summer. It all depends on where space is available. We are constantly reassessing and confirming as we receive cancellations from students who change their mind, and as we are putting people in spaces. We will continue receiving cancellations from students who, for whatever reason, maybe their roommates decided something else, maybe they decided to pursue a different program, but we'll be getting cancellations up until move-in day. And if those rooms are open, we're going to give them to someone. So we will continue confirming students all summer long.
Perfect. And we also have a few questions in here in regards to students that are taking courses over at the Rosen College or UCF downtown. So do you have any recommendations as to how they should determine which campus to live in?
If you're a hospitality major, you want to be at Rosen. Not just because it's close to SeaWorld, but because you're going to be on the same campus as all of your instructors, you're going to be close to internships, and you're going to be with other students who are pursuing the same program of study. So there are a lot of connections to be made living down at Rosen. If you are in a downtown major, you want to be at Union West. If you are in another major and you're just interested in living downtown, Union West has space for you right now, and you definitely have the opportunity to be down there. It is definitely the only housing that has that really modern feel, and there are a whole bunch of amenities at Union West that are right there in the building. So it has its own RWC and fitness center. There is advising in the building. There are university offices right there. All kinds of things are available to you. So definitely if you're a downtown major, and if you're not a downtown major, but you'd like to live in downtown Orlando, go right ahead.
Thank you. And I see some questions regarding top 10 nights and housing. So the first question for that is, if the student has not yet submitted that housing application, will they still have that guaranteed on-campus housing if they do so by May 1st? And a follow-up to that would be, would the guarantee be for specific housing on campus?
So as long as you apply by May 1st, you will be guaranteed campus housing, regardless of whether you applied now or months ago. Being a top 10 night does not guarantee you a specific type of space. So it doesn't guarantee you your first choice, but it does mean that you will get a confirmed agreement. So you will get a room.
Perfect. So if we request to change our agreement type, how do we do that? And does our confirmation date then change?
Ooh, really good question. You do it, number one, by contacting us individually. You need to send us an email with your personal information, your student ID number, all of your details. We have to do that manually behind the scenes for you. And then you have to recomplete some steps. As far as the confirmation date changing, in most circumstances, you will get to keep your date. There are a few isolated combinations of factors that might change your date, but it's rare. Ordinarily, you would get to keep your housing date.
And then we have some summer questions. So if a student is offered admission for summer term B, can they simply apply for fall housing?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. If you are starting in the summer and you don't want to live here in the summer, that's fine. You can go ahead, and while you're applying, you'll be able to click buttons for the semester you want to apply for. The summer B button will be right there. Just skip over it and go ahead and click fall.
Perfect. And as a follow-up to that, are there any private rooms available for the summer term?
Yes, there are. We try to keep everyone together in the summer term because it is a smaller group of students who start in the summer than in the fall. And so we put most summer B housing in the Nike, Hercules, and Neptune communities. Neptune is all private rooms. And as we discussed before, Nike and Hercules does have apartment style rooms. During the fall, they're going to mostly go to upperclassmen, but during summer B, freshmen do live in those spaces. So you get it for 6 weeks, then you'd move out and move into your fall space.
Perfect, thank you. And then we have a question about applying for housing at this point in time. So the student has not yet applied for housing as we're still weighing different options. Are they still able to do so? Is there still availability?
Yes, yes. There is still plenty of availability for fall 21. If you're applying now, you're not going to have the earliest room selection date. So especially if you're applying for academic year housing, be prepared to not be able to get a private room in that type of housing. If you want a private room and you're applying now, I recommend applying for one of the annual communities where all of the rooms are private, like Towers or Northview or Union West.
Perfect. And we have a question about move-in as well. So how much time are students given to actually move into their residence halls?
That is a great question, and one that I do not have a great answer for right now. Over the last year, the way move-in looks has changed significantly. The way we did it last fall was very different than the way we had move-in happen this spring, and we don't yet have the information for this fall. So as soon as we know exactly what the details of move-in will be for this fall, we're going to post them on our website, and we will send out emails to your Knight's email, check it, letting you know that there is updated information available about move-in.
Perfect. And if a student knows who they would like to be roomed with, how do they join the roommate program?
All they need to do is just go into the roommate matching part of the housing portal, and they would get the ID number from their roommate and just type that in as their roommate group person and just click right through the process. It's very simple.
Perfect. I'm sure this might be one that you probably get frequently. How does a student change their roommates through the semester if they are not getting along?
Okay, so if this is before move-in, you just make changes to your roommate group. If this is after move-in, you would need to work with your residence staff. So you would start with your RA. Shortly after move-in, residents are going to form roommate agreements, like contracts, where they agree on certain behaviors and expectations. So that's a good start. And then if they need to get to the point where they're actually pursuing a room change, they would work with their community staff to discuss that and go through the process.
Great. And along those same lines of the roommates, if a student does start in the summer term B and then they're returning for on-campus housing in the fall, what are the chances of them being matched with the same roommates that they had in the summer?
Well, you're going to choose your own room in both cases. So if you are in a roommate group with the same people and you choose rooms together, then you're good to go.
Perfect. So I know we're going to have our Know Before You Go session starting very shortly. So we'll wrap it up there. We will still be around for the Know Before You Go session to help address some of those other questions that you have about housing. So hopefully you will all be tuning in very shortly.
Thank you, Kiana.
Of course, thank you for being here. Bye.